Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
Hey everybody, it's Tuesday night. I'm Kevin, and it's another live Wicked Horror Show. As always, I'm joined by Tony Has Nine Fingers.
What is going on, people?
And would you like to introduce our very special guest?
Sure. The director of the movie HARLOW'S HAUNT. We have Terry Jarrell. Hopefully I said that right. I'm horrible with names, so don't take offense.
No, that's close enough. That's good. That's fine.
And we're expecting one of the actresses from the movie, and she's also like, isn't she like an AD or something?
She is. She was an associate producer and first AD. Her name is Aimee Rolfsen, and she's working through her technicalities.
Yeah.
So
as soon as she jumps in, though, I can easily just add her, so that's fine.
Cool.
But yeah, so why don't you give us a little rundown or a quick synopsis about the movie, and we'll get into the nitty gritty of things.
Well, it sounds good. And first of all, thanks for having us on. Having us on when Aimee gets here.
Yeah,
it's a pleasure. And you guys, I've been looking at some of your content and everything, and it's pretty amazing. So I'm really honored to be here. So thank you.
Thanks. We appreciate that.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, you got some amazing prior guests, and to follow their footsteps, it's like, whew.
Well, yeah, that's the thing is I always like to say we'll have everyone on from like first time filmmakers up to horror icons, and and sometimes we'll have no guest, but it's I don't want people to think like, oh geez, they only have like Kane Hodder and Dee Wallace and all these other people. I'm like, no, if you have an idea, even if you're just trying to fund your first movie, come on, we'll talk about it. Like, I think it's a good time, and I think it's a good outlet, because the audio podcast goes up after like a week from now anyways. So it's going to be on both. You're going to be catching it from both sides there.
Well,
but so let's hear about the movie.
Well, just a little bit about the movie. What is HARLOW'S HAUNT about? It's first of all, it's a bit unusual. It's not cookie cutter, and I pretty much, I don't know. It was my brainstorm. It's my baby. I guess I wrote it, produced, directed, and the story is set in two timelines. Part of the story is set in 1926. The other half is set in present day, and it is kind of loosely based on real stuff. I live in Central Florida, right west of Orlando, and in this kind of area that I'm in, there's still a lot of these little old, some are even abandoned, but these little old settlements that came from these, kind of questionable backgrounds. And I explored it more and just picked up little tendrils here and there that really lit the fire of thought for an interesting story, because back, 100, 200 years ago, whatever, there was a lot of travel, we'll say, like from the islands coming up through the the swamps and the backwoods of Florida, and then there was people bringing, well, I guess you could say baggage or whatever down from the north. Maybe they were wanting to break away from their community or whatever. They were just kind of wanting to get away and set up their own little town or their own little settlement or their own little cult type thing. So all these things just kind of had this collision at the intersection in my brain. I thought there's some story here, some creepiness going on out here in the backwoods. So that's the genesis of HARLOW'S HAUNT. And the gist of the story is sort of a cursed location, an area, a ground that things occur on throughout the period of time, the century. And so after the first part of the movie, we learn a little bit about Harlow and some of the type person he is, we'll say. Try not to give any spoilers away here. And then we shift gears into present day, where we have a group of 5 friends. They're 20 somethings, been friends since childhood, grown up. They, over the recent years, have endured some trauma, individual trauma, and things that have kind of shattered the group. And now they're coming back together. They're like, okay, we're young. We've got a future ahead of us. Let's try to cross the bridge, and let's get together. Let's, like we used to. Let's have fun. Let's go out. Let's reconnect. Let's spend time together and become the friends that we've been for life. But then things take a turn. Mm-hmm. So I'll kind of leave it at that. And
okay.
So this is, honestly, this story has, particularly the ending and the reviewers that are giving us feedback, which we are, again, super humbled. The feedback has been amazingly good. And the ending has really resonated with the horror reviewers that are watching it. We've done some screeners, and people get to the end and they're like, what? Don't stop. You've got to tell me. So we are scripting Harlow's 2 right now. And
nice.
So it's going to go, it's going to keep going. And there's just too much story here for one film, but this was our first, let's do this thing. Let's really, really kind of shake things up. And if there's one word that I kind of wanted to center the whole story around, was, how does it make you feel? Seeing's one thing, hearing audio is another thing, which we put a lot of work into all those to give it a unique look and a unique sound. But it's been kind of fun to hear some of the feedback. How one reviewer mentioned that she felt like she wondered if she should be watching it, or she should call somebody to check on the actors, to make sure they were okay. Yeah, and those kind of things were like,
that's good. Yeah,
wow. I mean, it's stunningly great to hear that. So that's sort of it in a nutshell. Just nice. Tell me to shut up. I tend to ramble.
No. That's that's what we do too. So just real quick, Sergio's in the chat room. He just wants to say hi.
Hey, Sergio.
And we have a Team Harlow.
Joe Ridgely.
Yeah.
Good friend with the India Escape Network.
With the what?
Joe hosts the India Escape Network, and they are network of a few shows. So
right, yeah, I saw, because I ended up I couldn't get the code to work, so Tony and I both ended up renting it, and I saw at the end there was like a little clip from those guys. So yeah, what's up?
That's Joe from that clip. Joe
nice. And
Steve.
Yeah, awesome to hear the sequel's coming. Love it. So
great.
There you go.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, I mean, because we'll have for some reason we have way more listeners than we do viewers. But for the listeners and the viewers that may not be familiar, who plays Harlow in this movie?
Harlow, it's some guy. He's been in a couple movies. John Dugan. John Dugan from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He was in a couple of follow-ups to TCM as well, but he played Grandpa in the original. Was gracious enough to be part of our crazy movie, and he plays Harlow Greer, and he was astounding. And especially on set, some of the scenes we shot with him, we're out shooting at 1, 2 in the morning, and it's creepy. We're out in the woods in a really creepy location, and watching John perform in that context was just amazing. So we were just super glad to have him on board, and he did an amazing job.
Yeah, and a lot of people may not know what he even looks like, because in the grandpa makeup, it's funny because he plays the grandpa, and he was the youngest person in the cast.
Isn't that funny? Yeah.
Yeah. Because he was he was small enough at the time where he could fit in all the latex and just look like an old, I don't even know how old he was when that movie was made.
He was like 20 or 21.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and he's told me a little bit about that time on set and how, hot it was and everything.
Oh, yeah.
It was really hot when we shot. But he said sitting in that makeup for hours and hours.
Oh, I can't even imagine. Yeah. I talked to Ed, I think, and he was, he was telling me a lot of the he signed a picture for me. He's like, see the face I'm making? It's because what's on my plate is spoiling right in front of me. And I'm like, oh, that's good. And then I luckily Gunnar Hansen lived not too far. Like he lived in New England. I'm in New England. Okay. And I ended up being a regional auditor for TJX, and one of my stores was his girlfriend or wife's store in Ellsworth, Maine. And so after I told him about that, he signed everything. I know where you work instead of I know where you live, which I think is great. And actually, I have it, like I was mentioning before we went live, I have a giant Leatherface tattoo on my arm, and I got it the day before the last convention he did.
Wow.
That I had no idea that he was ill. You know, I met him. I met him a couple times, but that last time, and he took a picture with me and everything. He was involved. There was a movie called Death House that he wrote, or he wrote the story for. And luckily, from that convention, we got in good with the director, and we were part of that whole experience. So that was pretty neat. We got to go to the set and all this other stuff. But he had passed by the time the movie was made.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he's in the movie though.
Yeah,
which is weird.
I never got to meet Gunnar.
Oh, no?
Crystal is in our film. She actually is John Harlow's scene partner. Her character is Eldora Bolkover.
Okay.
And she is almost exclusively acting with John in his scenes. So yeah, and they were just absolute magic together. So
was that the mom?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Nice. Good job. Yeah. Good job, Crystal.
The mom.
Thanks, Mom. But
it's spoiler. Shut up.
Yeah. Nope. Yeah. So speaking of a sequel, and geez, some other people are coming in. 1 second.
Oh,
hello,
Judy,
Kevin,
that's my
Tony,
mom.
and Terry.
Hey, Mom.
Hi, his mom. His
Man
mom
number
named
one.
Judy, and Paul Haddock. Who's Paul Haddock? No, it's Crystal saying Paul Haddock.
Paul Haddock.
I
don't know.
Is that another actor?
No, we didn't have a Paul Haddock in the film. I don't know. I'm confused. I'm easily.
Me too. Thank you so much. There. You're welcome so much. So any tag? Oh, she's tagging people. That's what she's doing. Okay. Sorry. So what like how in depth can you go on a possible sequel? Like, I know you don't want to give too much away about the first one and the sequel, but at some point,
I think we're fleshing out the story now. We're not at the point of starting to write the script yet, because that'll come together. I'm as a writer, I'm really a fanatic about preparation. I guess with anything, with cinematography or anything. I think if you put as much effort as you can into your preparation, then the execution goes a lot smoother and easier. So we're at that stage of kind of writing out the gist of the story and the arc of the story. Without going too deep into it, it's going to have some, not all, but it's going to have some of the original cast and how their story continues. We're not going to stray too far, because the feel and for those that haven't seen it yet, it's the movie, and you guys have seen it. It's kind of got a found footage / narrative feel to it.
Yeah.
It's almost kind of a little hybrid there. And lighting was a big thing. Again, music. I think I'm a big nut about sound, not so much sound effects and all, but like music placement to build mood and all. I call it the Scooby-Doo scene. Remember the scene where they first arrive at the haunt and it's kind of that peppy, upbeat kind of surfer punk horror, that kind of stuff. So we're gonna continue that vein in a way, but we're going to take the story. Again, this was pretty narrative. There's a lot of character building, a lot of world building, and you got to pay attention to the dialogue, because it's layered and layered and layered. We are going to go a little more hardcore, darker, if I can say that. It's going to still be somewhat narrative, but it's not going to be kind of the formula where, kill 5 minutes of running and then kill and then 5 minutes of hiding, and it's not going to be again that. It's going to be chock full of surprises, and we've got some stuff that is pretty insane on the chalkboard already. So it's going to quench thirsts that may not have been in the first one, but it's going to be very familiar, and the storyline is going to answer some questions and leave a lot more open.
Ask some new ones. Yeah.
It's going to be sort of a trade. You're going to, we're going to tell you that, but then we're going to screw you up with this. So
nice.
Well, that works.
Yeah, I like to kind of make a story a bit of a puzzle that you can sort of play along as you watch it, and it unfolds, and you have some aha moments or some, I knew it was that guy. Wait, it's not that guy. Okay, so kind of that sort of thing. But it's going to absolutely be fun. It'll be loud. That's probably a good word.
Oh, nice. So we have Kelly in the chat room saying hello, everyone.
Kelly Manahan, that's my other half, my keeper of the chaos.
Oh, nice. And then Sergio is asking if we have a trailer. We do have a trailer. We usually try to play those around the halfway mark. And then Shutterblade Media, chock full of nuts.
Chock full of nuts.
Yeah. We know Shutterblade Media. Do you know Shutterblade Media?
I don't.
Okay. That's it's Pieces of Talent. Shutterblade Media. It's a great movie. Highly recommend it. But the
on the list.
Okay. So in Florida, I've only been out to Florida a few times. It was only like most of the times were for work. And then I went out there on vacation once in the middle of the summer, which was the biggest mistake. And especially living in Massachusetts, it's just like, what was I thinking?
Humidity.
And, oh my God.
Max.
We were just running from air conditioning to air conditioning. But one of the coolest places I went was St. Augustine.
Okay.
I thought it was awesome. Like the history there is really good. That's amazing. There's some crazy old buildings there, but I don't know anything about the backwoods like craziness. So I'm going to have to get lost in Florida at one point in my life.
Next time you're down, let me know. I'll drag you out to some of these creepy places. Hey, you may make it back.
So Tony, if I don't come back, you know who to call? I'm Gator Bait. That's what they call me, Gator Bait. I was actually wondering if it was Florida because I saw the rain and I was like trying to place where you guys were, and a fellow masshole. Kelly's saying a fellow masshole.
Now the one thing too I must say is with the movie, as your hat shows, it definitely had that like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, especially that first part. Yeah, it reminded me. I was like, okay, this definitely has that feel to it,
the grittiness,
and the grittiness of it, and then it transformed into the modern age and everything. But that 1920s feel had that, especially that first scene was just the conversation got weirder and weirder and deeper. I was like, okay, I definitely see like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre feel to it.
Thank you so much for that comparison. I mean, that's amazing. I really had a look in mind for that, and when I shot it and then in editing, and those how you see like these old like antique pictures like in the oval frame, the big wooden frame, and the pictures like all kind of faded, and it's got the vignette around all. I kind of wanted that whole coloring, that whole feel of that whole first act to sort of be reminiscent of that or touch on that kind of like, it's easy enough. You can throw on, all the filters and crap to make it look like scratched up old film. I didn't want it to look like that. I wanted it to just, again, I'll go back to that word feel. I wanted to feel like you're watching, like you were there in 1926. Like, the colors are a bit faded. Everything's a bit distorted in a kind of a surreal way. And the conversation they have, like you said, it starts digging into not one deep trench, but multiple trenches about what's going on. Then you wonder what the heck's up with Harlow, and all these questions just keep popping up along the line of the conversation. So, but man, thanks for saying that.
There was a few times where I like, this isn't the unfortunate part. I'm sure as like a horror fan, you almost try to figure out the movie as it's going along. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, all right, he's gonna attack, and this is gonna be this, and I'm like, I'm wrong. I'm just wrong. Straight up wrong. So that's good. I mean, it's not like, the cookie cutter, like what could have happened. It's different. So that's awesome. And I'm also curious where in Massachusetts Kelly is from.
She'll probably answer, or I could answer for you, but
that's okay. Yeah.
I'll let her answer.
Yeah, she can answer.
She's in the other. You won't come in.
Oh, so with the new one, are you looking at like changing anything as far as production value or production wise? Are you going to make it a bigger production or
a bit? It's going to be done, and this is something that I've got coming later. the way I shot this, I don't want to quite give it away yet. The tech and the gear and stuff I used she answered.
Yep. She's from Whitman. I'm from right outside of Worcester, unfortunately. Worcester, the armpit of Massachusetts. Anyways, but yeah, I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Oh, I don't know where anything is up there. So she makes fun of me the way, when we go up to visit, the way I talk and pronounce things. Yeah, you can definitely tell I'm not.
There was one guy in the movie that I was like, I wonder if he's from Mass, because his accent, he was either from Mass or New York, I think.
Yeah.
It was the guy that was like with the striped jacket, who was like, kind of like a carnival caller.
Yeah, his name is Johnny Maciag. I always mispronounce his last name. Love that guy. He's a local actor, and he works his rear end off. He's in all kinds of small productions and various level productions in the area, and as well as out of the area. He's working on some other stuff. So yeah, he's a guy to kind of don't be surprised if you see him pop up somewhere. We had so much fun with him. We put him in that costume. And the costumes were done by another friend here in town, Courtney McIntyre, and he makes props and costumes and things for haunted attractions. And so we used that costume, and Johnny put that on, and he's a real animated, fun guy anyway. But the part where he's like walking up behind the gang and messing with that, we just all improvised that. He just ad-libbed that, and it's just such like that comedic relief at the right time.
And it's stuff that really happens at a haunted house.
It is.
Because I've accidentally coughed right in people's faces because I turned to the side and cough, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry, you were right there. I didn't know." That was a good time. But I used to frequent the haunts around here. Me and my wife love them, so I was like, "Yeah, that's right, more haunted houses." So Shutterblade Media, which this is a talent. I'm just saying. He's asking what the name of the movie is, and it's Harlow's Haunt. Yeah, and actually, MK Ultra was also saying that Shutterblade, you're brilliant. This is all brilliant. There you go.
This is all
awesome. Brilliant. And yeah, when I get off down this mountain, I'm going to check it out. So I'm assuming, I don't know if you're watching at the top of a mountain. Be safe. It's nighttime probably. There's bears.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, but that being said, hopefully Aimee will be able to join us as well. I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, I don't know if she's been able to work her magic on her tech end.
Tell her just to yell "ta-da" and it'll work. That's magic, right?
Either that or always a bigger hammer.
Yeah, and Sergio's actually asking if you believe in ghosts, like if you actually believe in like in the paranormal and stuff.
Do I believe in ghosts? Boy, we can have a whole discussion on that. Let's just say, in a way, I believe in something. I believe in things. That's not quite maybe the generic term, but in kind of I believe there's weird energies out there. So.
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah. And actually, years ago, I was part of a paranormal investigation group myself. That's one of the reasons we went to St. Augustine. Just saying.
There you go.
Yeah, me and my friend Jeff spent the night in the prison there.
Did you go to the lighthouse? I'm sure you went.
Oh yeah, we did. We sweated our way right to the top of the lighthouse. As soon as we got up there, we were just like, "Well, this place is infested in bees." Like when we got to the top, we're like, "Let's turn around and run down the stairs."
Yeah, that's a real good time to find out.
Oh yeah, we're literally at the very top.
Wow.
And ladies and gentlemen, Aimee's here. What's up, Aimee?
Hi. Sorry, guys.
How are you?
That's okay.
Waiting.
Oh, you're waiting? Oh, yeah.
You
You could have just jumped in at any time.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I didn't see you like that.
No, that was totally my bad. I actually didn't hit the button.
That's okay. Well, welcome to the show.
Thank you,
We're
guys.
just about to wrap things up. Just kidding. We're not. So I know that you wore many hats on this production. Besides being an actress, you also were. Yeah, not that hat. You were like an AD and like a producer as well, right?
Yeah, a little bit of everything. Helped Terry out on side with, first AD. We produced the film together, and I'm not sure how far you guys are in the conversation, but we're in pre-production for the second one. So
yeah, we started talking about that a little bit. We're trying to not spoil anything, which is tough.
Yeah.
So when is this movie going to be like available to the masses?
Well, Harlow's is, we've just literally just rolled it out. DVDs went on sale right before Christmas. We were initially just going to roll that out and take our time working through the streaming channels. We have a distributor that we're working with for that. And of course that takes a while. It's not immediate. There's all the mechanics of connecting with the different channels and all. So that's where we're at with them now. But we were getting so much call for people. I want to watch it now. I want to watch it tonight, blah, blah, blah. So we do have a Vimeo on demand channel up. I mean, why not? And it's there. It's available on Vimeo. It's just Harlow's Haunt. And it's just like, and well, I'm not shameless plug by have them laying all over. We have the DVD, but it's 2 discs. We actually have 2. We have the feature, then we have a behind the scenes thing called Behind the Haunt. And that is also part of, if you watch it on Vimeo, you get to see both of them just as if you had the DVD. So it's both pieces. And the Behind the Haunt, it was just fun. It was it's a bunch of stills and things, behind the scenes during production. But then we have just some kind of fly on the wall video. Some Aimee shot, a lot of people shot just off their phones. I mean, just stuff like you're there in the room where we were doing some of the more intense scenes. So that's kind of fun to look back at.
And being a collector, that's exactly what.
Oh yeah, that's
we're
what
looking for. Is, I mean, that's the one thing that streaming services have. It's nice and easy. You just click the remote and whatever and turn it on. Yeah. But as physical, we love seeing the behind the scenes because it's not only. I mean, you got. I'm sure a lot of people that are looking to eventually make a movie. It always helps them. But just us as fans, but if it's a commentary, if it's a behind the scenes, if it's a blooper reel or whatever, it's always fun to see, what goes on behind everything. So we appreciate it as, collectors. So,
yeah, exactly. Well, and before we get too far, I just want to point this out because as soon as Aimee joined, we have hi Aimee from Kelly. Hi Aimee from Sergio. We have a hi Aimee from Joe.
That Joe guy again.
Oh, Joe. And we also have just Shutter Blade Media commenting on my comment about many hats. Is congrats on getting it all wrapped up, and indie film, the game of many hats. Bravo. So
that's the truth.
Yeah, definitely. And Joe's asking how fun it was to making closed captions.
Ha 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 ha. Yeah, Joe. I've ran into Aimee and Joe probably, and Kelly more than they've heard every frigging. I'm like the dad in the Christmas Story movie, that's yelling at the furnace.
Yep, how's to go five? That one.
Yeah, like words that aren't even words; they're just consonants. It's just one string of consonants. But yeah, the captions. For a distributor, they pinged me back at one point. It was like, hey, closed captions are cool, but we need them for a few other countries. I ended up having to translate the captions for the movie, every word, every syllable, every letter, for 91 countries.
Oh, geez.
91 countries.
This is how bad I am. I didn't know there was 91 countries.
I didn't know there's
I think it took us the whole month of December, because every time I ping Terry or we talk, he was just doing the same thing for
translating
every single phone call.
I'll get back to you. I'm translating.
Yeah. How were the translations like for the country of Chad? I don't know.
Yeah, there's countries I had no. I kept looking at the list. It's like they're messing with me. If I see like Klingon or something on here, I'm gonna lose my mind.
Yeah.
But no, it was just there's just so many like for the Asian countries, there's so many little, I guess, regional dialect differences. And and I translate it, and it's all in their characters, their alphabets. I'm just assuming it was correct,
right?
But the translation tool, it's not hard to do. It's just kind of a tedious thing. You have to keep repeating and verify the file, then send it, and start all over. So Joe's heckling me about the captions. Boy,
it'd be funny if there is a little mess up and they're reading it and they're going along with it.
Yeah, they're like, "What? This movie makes no sense." Yeah, that's the thing, is you can tell. I mean, I can tell if it's like there's still, you see stuff on Netflix where things are just like completely wrong.
part of that is there is software that you can get to.
I was just going to say, actually, Joe from Shutterblade Media is saying that Adobe Premiere has an auto generate for closed captions, but it sucks.
You took the words out of my mouth. You took the caption out of my mouth.
Yeah.
I mean, they miss things like words like two, TOO, TO, TWO, blue, 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 the wind blew, the sky is blue.
Yeah.
It can't figure all these things out. So I literally went through the entire movie, lyrics to the songs and everything, and typed it. And then you have to time it with the clip, with the scene, with what's on the screen. So you have all your timing durations and all that. Again, it's not, if you're familiar with editing, it's not the hardest thing in the world. It's just one of those, like you're separating grains of salt with a toothpick for hours and hours. It's just a repetitive, tedious, over and over process. But hey, it's doable, and that's what we're here for. So suffer for our art.
Yeah, exactly. And Jeremy Courtney, who's a future podcast co-host with myself, saying that there's about 100 other countries. Way to make me feel even dumber. All right. So Aimee, do you want to talk a little bit about your character and what it was like doing all the multiple jobs on set?
Sure. Yeah. When I first met Terry and he provided me the script, he really kind of wanted to know what character I gravitated towards the most. So I got the script, I read it that night and painted the next day, and I loved the character Beth. And he was like, great, because that's exactly what I saw when I saw you. And I was really excited to connect with that character because there's so much of her that's me. She's goofy, but she's also a big smartass. So it wasn't that much of a far stretch for me in real life, but you do get to see Beth go on this roller coaster of, not just emotions, of the obvious horror situations, but even in her personal life. And what I love about this film is it's very story driven and character driven. So you get to see a lot of who these characters are. And I think the audience will really appreciate that, especially as we get into the second film. Nice. And then as far as working with Terry behind the camera, we had a blast. I mean, as much of a project that it is, and there's a million different hats to wear, and you're trying to stay on schedule and you're trying to get all the shots in, we had a lot of fun. And having Duke in there and shooting those long days, I mean, we would shoot 12-hour days into the night, and just being able to watch John work and how professional he was. He just brought a lot of magic to the set. And there was this big long scene. I'm not sure if you guys got into it in the very beginning of the film. And it was just the most gorgeous night. And we got that in one shot with John. And the energy in the room, you could feel it. And I think that portrays pretty fluid when you watch it. So just in front of the camera, behind the camera, it was a great set to be on. It was a really great group of actors and crew, and it was a privilege. I can't wait to do it again.
Nice. So I just wanted to point out we have another thrilled Aimee chant.
Hey, Crystal plays the character Eldora. And
yep. And I pointed out, I was like, oh, is that the mom? And I was like, great job. So that's all. And Judith, I believe is maybe related.
Hey, Mom.
Yeah, that's my mom.
Okay.
Hi,
and then Shutterblade Media is asking how many shooting days it was.
4,803 or 4. I can't count counting over 3,000. No, we probably I think we ended on about like 18 days.
That's what I was gonna say. We shot almost every weekend from the very end of April to the very last weekend in June. There might have been a few weekends here and there, scheduling conflicts, but for the most part, that was the time frame. And yeah, about 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, we had a great crew. I mean, cast, the crew, we had a really small crew, much bigger cast than crew, but we had a good team, but everybody kind of has jobs and real life and stuff too. So we were working around accommodating that and schedules and all. So the shoot actually ran a bit, but actually on set days, I think we ended up like 18 days, and and then the editing began, and I don't know. I'm like 16, 17 months into this, like all day, every day. So yeah, boy. So if anybody wants to make an indie film, let me know. And,
yeah,
it's crazy how I don't think people understand, like, especially like viewers, how different indie film and and mainstream, because at that point in time it's like you see these big films and it's like, oh yeah, we tape for like 8 months straight. And then you get indie film where it's like, okay, we'll do it every other weekend when we can get together, and just the craziness of trying to remember what you did and how you did everything, and being able to, like, in a month or so, people can like facial hair or whatever changes. So you got to get everything right. And it's just, I don't think people understand how much more difficult, indie film with a lower budget and having to, like, we've mentioned it many a times where it's like, you guys have day jobs too, and it's just like passion projects, and it's like, it's not just being able to just sit around, do nothing, and then tape. It's like, okay, do your normal job. Just think about, like, anybody listening or watching, it's like, think about doing your job and then doing something, like filming something, and then how much, I'm sure you had a bad day at work and that affects stuff, and I don't know, it's just crazy to me how that is. In 18 days, it's like, wow, okay.
It is. It's so much. And again, I kind of go back to that preparation thing. And I started to mention earlier, I forgot, got off track. We're going to do a thing. We're still figuring that out. Sort of a tech breakdown of what kind of gear that. It's
actually that was one of the questions. It was what format did you shoot on? Was one of the questions.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't tell you yet.
Okay,
I'm going to, but you will be amazed. And I come from my big, and Amy's so sick of hearing this. Our big influences are Hitchcock, David Lynch, Paul Rodriguez.
I'm not sick of it. That's what we've been watching all year.
Yeah, and that flavor and that style of filmmaking, the real long scenes, the real long narrative scenes. I love that stuff because it tells you a story. It's not like spoon feeding you gimmicks. But one thing I kind of, this sort of came from stuff I've learned from Robert Rodriguez, not personally, that'd be great, but is how to eliminate excuses for not making your movie. And on the Indie Escape on Joe's show, it previously had been called the Indie Brigade, and I hosted a show on there for a couple of years called the Drone Cab, where I discussed how to use drones and aerial cinematography. And it just spread out into using small cameras, affordable cameras, mics, different things that anybody can get their hands on. Even if you shoot a movie with your phone, I mean, you can get out there and get started.
There was one like major release that was completely filmed on.
Yeah,
Unsane.
Yeah,
and it was pretty good. And plus, Robert Kelly was in it. He's one of my favorite comics, so I can't go wrong.
See?
And just real quick though. I just wanted to bring this up because this is a true like dedication thing right here. So when we're talking early, like a couple minutes ago about like how long it took to make the movie, Joe was saying, I understand, trust me. I think it took 5 years to complete Pieces of Talent.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's great. I absolutely love it. So, but yeah,
I'm absolutely, that's my next watch. I want to see it because we are all about supporting our indies. I mean, not to sound cheesy or kumbaya or any of that stuff. I've got this firm belief in the power that indie filmmakers have, and I think that's just being realized. There was an article came out this week, and I shared it on Facebook and all from CBR. It was an excellent article about using. You guys might know these guys, the Terrifier gang.
Yeah, we just had some of them on last week.
Yeah, man. And what they have kicked the doors open for indie film, but the indie filmmakers where we aren't operating on multi-million-dollar budgets and have 100 people on the crew and we got 10 people handling craft and all this, where every possible base is covered by 3 angles. There is, you're going to have to work pretty hard to screw something up. But with indies, you don't have that luxury. So you've got to be better prepared. You have to plan your work, from your story to your camera work to making sure. Aimee will tell you, I was a fanatic about, are my batteries charged on set? I had battery banks and chargers and crap everywhere, because it's like, one down battery, that could end your day. Mm-hmm. And so you've got to have all these bases covered. But then to tell your story, to shoot your story, to come up with your angles and your lighting and all that, you have to be creative, or either it's going to fall flat. So I think that necessity of not having the luxury of budgets and coverage and all this, where you have to wear more than one hat or more than two, you might, you do everything, you'll sweep the floor. But whatever you have to do, if you're really dedicated to what you're doing, then that comes through. I think in the final product, you can kind of see a different energy that was put into the project, even if it's just like, the heart that went into it from the cast or a particular actor or whatever. I kind of think that comes through somehow.
Well, yeah,
that's kind of my belief in,
because it's passion. A lot of the big Hollywood producers and directors and stuff, they're just jaded. It's all about the money. I'm assuming, because I don't talk to any of those people, but I couldn't agree more with this comment. Any film creators will continue to make the best stories. That's true, because most of the stuff that comes out, big budget stuff, is just a remake of something else. Like, it's okay, we'll put another name on it, but it's the same movie as this, or we'll use the same name,
repackage.
Yeah. And with any film, it did some of the plots work. It's you throw it out there, and sometimes it hits, sometimes it doesn't, but at least it's your storylines and stuff like that. Like, there's been some where it's like, okay, this is a different story, but it's not for me. Mm-hmm. And then there's other times where it's like, okay, this story I've never seen before, and I love it. Like some of you look at like some of the indie stuff, like Rubber, like A Killer Tire or something like that. It's just like, who would have thought of stuff like this? Yeah. And it's fun, it's cheesy, and it's just something I'd never seen before. Like, my favorite is Killer Clowns from Outer Space. It. And it's like, trying to, especially when I was younger, trying to explain it to people, they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, yeah, it's just one. Those are the movies I'll remember forever. Then you get the other ones that are like, okay, I tell you a plot, and it's like, okay, that's like 5 different movies that I could be mentioning at any point. So I don't know, with indie film, everybody tries something different, and like I said, those are the ones I'll always remember. So
yeah, there's so much richness to indie films, and for example, last night we watched The Evil Dead, the original, and you can watch a movie, and it's hard. It's probably hard for people to watch a movie with me or even Aimee for that, because we can't shut up about, like, well, look at that angle. Why did they use a Dutch angle there? Or why is this? Or you start deconstructing it, not picking on it, but just trying to understand the scene or the movie. But I always loved Evil Dead, and some of the camera shots, I'm looking at, the shots like going through the woods, kind of. I've got gear, I can shoot that so easy now, but back then
they literally had a camera on a 2x4 and they were running through the woods. That's what they did.
They were maniacs. Yeah, they had this big giant, crazy heavy, fragile gear, and they're putting in all these crazy scenarios. And like some of the shots, like from the basement under the trap door, looking around. I mean, it's such really cool, creative camera work in that movie. And I just love it. And Ring he was working. His brain must have been smoke pouring out his ears during that shoot because of all the creativity in it.
Have you ever seen the Japanese movie House? I think it's from like 76 or something like that.
I don't think I've seen it.
It's Hasu or something like that in Japanese. It's a crazy movie.
Yeah.
I've been looking. I'm like, there's got to be. Raimi had to have been influenced by this movie, because there's a lot of scenes that are almost like they're very similar.
Yeah.
But it's not a bad thing, because I love the movie. It's a weird movie, but I love it. Criterion put out a release of it a while back, and it's really good. But before we get too deep into stuff, I definitely want to play the trailer, because we're only like 50 minutes away from time being up. So, and then when we come back, I want to talk to Aimee a little bit more about her stuff, and we'll be right back. Here is the trailer for HARLOW'S HAUNT. It's a tongue twister right there. Be right back.
I know that you're tired and hungry. I am too. But we'll be there soon. I promise, all right?
Do that. That's a long get. You're the trusting type, I guess. So you ought to make it a habit of wandering around and knocking on doors and asking for a place to stay. Yes, I have them. Oh, boy. I have them, boy. Bring it, bring it. I haven't had a drink about an hour. Oh. Whoa. Whoa.
My God, Chris! Oh my God! So, you and Benny Pooh, how are you? Me and Benny Pooh are just fine.
So sorry. Him. And he spent so much time in the mirror. Total diva. I mean, look at his face.
You're killing me, Adam. Alright. You all ready to get the living shit scared out of you?
Dear brave soul, you have just entered into your worst nightmare. Behold, Harlow's Haunt rests on cursed grounds. The horrors seen in these woods of which are unspeakable.
Really? Alright, really guys? Okay, children, I will be your fearless leader through this underworld. Can we please haul ass and just get back to the bar or something? This musty old shit. This vibe. I know, I totally feel it, and you guys know how I feel these things.
Like this. Hey, hey, with cowboy.
Clear God, Chris. You're tuning it up.
Oh, you guys are all bastards for leaving me up here. I can't see shit. Alright guys, this is so funny. I get it. This is so scary. Guys, what the fuck are you? You okay? It's
There you go. I just want to point out that I was corrected about the year that House came out. It's 1977. I appreciate that. Joe's saying in a world with no gimbals, you have to use a 2x4, which is true. And then don't take offense at this, but Central Florida already gives me the creeps. So there you go.
I dig it. Yeah. Yeah, it is a creepy place.
Yeah, I haven't been there long enough to know. So Aimee, oh, she's muted. 1 second. For some reason, she wasn't muted when the trailer was playing, and I had to mute her. But Aimee,
I'm just all kinds of issues tonight, you guys.
That's okay. It's okay.
Making everything hard.
It's okay. So how did you have you worked with Terry before? Is this like an ongoing work thing with you guys?
So this is our first project. Terry put the breakdowns out and I auditioned, just like any other actor would when they get a breakdown for a project. And, we had quite a bit of time that we were in pre-production doing the table reads via Zoom because the cast, we're all Central Florida, but we're all over different parts of Central Florida. So we were just always on the phone, always on Zoom. And then once we started filming and got on set, you know, we needed all hands on deck. And, you know, I've been on other sets before and I just really wanted to help out however I could. So Terry and I, you know, luckily just work really well together and vibe together. It's great energy. It's always a lot of fun. We're very goal driven and we have a lot of similarities when it comes to our work ethics. And creatively, we realized that we're on the same page as well with a lot of our ideas. So this was the first production, but we are in pre-production for Harlow's Haunt 2 and the fun continues. So I'm excited for it.
That's awesome. So Harlow's Haunt 2, The Hauntier. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of the subtitle.
You're fired.
A lot of surprises, but
I was never hired, Tony. You have to understand.
But the one thing too is I say it sometimes, but then as I'm saying it, I'm like, with every film, you know, production of it, everything brings up different, I don't want to say problems, but its own, like, I would think, okay, you did one, here comes another one. It should be that much easier. But then, you know, everything, no matter what, there's always something that pulls up. But at least now you got a grasp of what you want to do and the visuals and like I guess a view of what you want to do. Are you more prepared for the second one now, doing the first one, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're definitely prepared. And ever since we ended the first one, we have been talking almost every single day on the phone, mapping out, you know, the skeleton for the second one. And it just kind of became an obsession. We just feed off of each other throughout the writing. And like I said, creatively, we really are so much alike. So it just makes the process really fun. Is it easier? I don't know, because we're setting the bar a little bit higher this time. So I think there'll be things that we will face that we know how to handle because we've experienced it already. But I think there's going to be things that we've never done before, but we're just going to go for it. So we'll figure it out.
The way to do it, yeah.
Like we did on this one.
That's the thing is with a sequel.
But we just kind of want to go for it and do some crazy stuff.
With a sequel, it's always scary. You know, like I don't know this because I've never made a film, but I'm assuming it's very scary. And like, as I know as a fan, like I get scared. Like when Terrifier 2 came out, I was just like, oh, please don't let this suck. Please.
Right.
And because how are you gonna top it? You know,
right,
everybody
exactly.
felt that way. How are you?
But they're doing a 3, so they're gonna have to top this one too. But yeah, it's a scary thought because let's face it, there's you see these big franchises, including Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There's a lot of stinkers in that franchise. They're not all great, just like Friday the 13th, just like Nightmare on Elm Street. They're not all great. You get Roseanne Barr and Tom Arnold in your movie, you're grasping at straws. But so I mean, I definitely wish you guys more than luck, and hopefully with the independent film scene, kind of people are like other people that aren't big fans of it are now finding it. I think you have a good chance there.
But the one thing too, I think, especially with like the bigger franchises, I always think to myself and try to figure out why each one's, because a lot of the times too, you get different directors and stuff going for the different franchise movies. So each one feels a little bit different. And at least with indie filmmakers, it's their vision going through the entire thing. So maybe with Terrifier 2 or others, it still has that same feel to it.
Right.
And they all kind of feel like one another. But it's, I don't know, especially with those, you were saying, the more they went, I think they kind of just rested and like, okay, well, we already have a fan base. Let's just make a movie and they're going to like it anyway. But especially with indie film, it's kind of like,
they're doing it because they love it and they want to do it. Yeah,
exactly. So
yeah, and doing projects on a smaller budget and doing it with a smaller crew, it really is a passion project and artist objective. And, we're doing what we love. We're telling the stories that we want to tell and the way that we want to tell it. And we know that it's different and we know that it's special and unique. And to me, that's more exciting than anything. Maybe I should be scared to fail, but I just don't care. I'm having
that's
so
awesome.
much fun with Terry.
I wish I could
so
do that. I wish I could. I just care way too much. Like I overthink everything. So
yeah, and
more
I
power to you.
Do too, but for this, it just feels right, and I think we're on to something, and we're just gonna keep going for it. So I'm more excited than anything.
Awesome. So with the assistant director producer thing, was this the first time you'd done that job?
It is, yes. I've been on set, doing PA and things like that, and then just acting in front of the camera, but on set enough to pick things up. I pay attention. I try to soak up what I can every time I step on set, because that's how you learn. So I'm not perfect and I'm still learning, but when you have a good group and everybody pitches in, you figure it out.
Nice. Well, that's awesome. Do you ever think you would step behind, like write a movie yourself and direct it yourself? Do you ever think you would take that jump?
I mean, absolutely. Terry and I are co-writing the second feature, so that's a big step in a direction that I'm excited to go in. And I see Terry and I continuing a lot of projects together down the road. I don't really see an end to that, and who knows what else might come along the way.
That's awesome. Well,
and the one thing
I'm happy
too
for you
is,
guys.
the one thing too is we were talking about it a little bit before, but you say you had so much fun on the set and you grow relationships and whatever, and you mentioned it a little bit, but you do see it on screen where it's like we mentioned, oh, have you worked before? How long and it's like, oh, we just met now, but it doesn't seem that way. Then you get other films where it's like you can tell maybe it's just the actors don't mesh right or whatever, and you could just feel it doesn't have that, it doesn't have
believability.
That
it doesn't feel like this would really happen, But you guys were really busting balls, and it felt like that.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm really excited to hear you guys say that. And the chemistry on set was real. I mean, as an actor, as an artist, it is your job to create the appearance of those relationships, but to have the viewers say that they saw that relationship, it was authentic. We, from the table reads to the first night on set, I haven't really been on a production that flowed the way that it did with this group. So to know that really portrayed to the audience is great feedback. I'm glad that you guys felt that and saw that.
Cool.
And I guess with indie film too, it's kind of like you kind of have to get to know each other very quickly because it's so tight knit and so like, with other films, I guess it's just so long of a thing. I don't have to deal with you sometime, but indie film, it's like you do everything together.
Yeah, you're
like
right there.
You're
like on top of each other all the time. Yeah,
exactly. So it's like you kind of gotta, get together, or I guess the film will, kind of blow up or something. But
well, there was such a good mesh with particularly the group that of actors that Aimee was working with, and it was just everybody just had fun. That was such a big thing, and that was one thing I preached to everybody. Even early in casting, it's like, okay, rule number one, we're going to have fun. We're just going to order pizza and whatever, a cooler full of drinks and whatever, and we're going to have fun, and then we're going to pull out a camera and shoot some scenes. So let's make this an experience that we want to do, that we love being here and being part of, and I think that's going to shine through. And so much of the camera work, I wanted to position the viewer as if you were at the table or in the scene or standing with this group of people, like you're that other character. You just don't have a speaking role.
Almost like you're eavesdropping, or you're seeing and hearing something that you really shouldn't be a part of and you shouldn't be watching.
Oh, look at that. Product placement much? I just want to point out that Sergio said no thank you. because he gets scared by a lot of these trailers. So
Yeah.
so he's just like, well, that's too scary. And then Joe's saying, well said, make it for you, which is true. I'm 100% checking this out. There you go.
Sweet.
And Joe's saying, me too. So it is about that time, guys. We have to wrap things up. I want to start with Aimee because she was the newest to the party. So Aimee, where can people? That's okay. Technical things happen. Where can people go to follow you and like your other projects and stuff like that?
My main actress page I have on Instagram. It's my first name and last name, but there's an Aimee.Rolfsen, so a dot in between the first and last name. So you can follow me there. I post all the projects that I'm doing. I post podcasts like we're on tonight so that we can share that exposure for both us and for the people that we're collaborating with. And I do have some other projects lined up this year. So maybe we can come back on the show.
Just definitely let us know.
Another horror feature film that's in Central Florida with a great production company that Terry and I know well, and they support us. We support them. So really excited about that, and just thrilled to be working on the second feature with Terry. That's my, first and foremost biggest project we have going on this year. So just ready to keep that going.
Cool. Terry, what about yourself?
Oh, well, I'm like social media stupid, but I'm on Facebook, Terry Jarrell, Terry L. Jarrell, I think. You can find me there. Also, we have a pretty active Facebook group, a Harlow's Haunt movie. And it's so fun to see so many new people since it's out now. I mean, I check, every day and I see, X number, new members. So that's fun. We're also on Instagram, TikTok and Twitter, all just Harlow's Haunt. And I think Aimee can correct me, but I think it's just like all one word, however that stuff works.
It is, yeah.
So we post a bunch of stuff. We try and keep, we really love that engagement with our supporters, the audience and all that. So we're always posting. I mean, just, a mosquito flies through the room. It's like, hey, a mosquito flew through the, past my editing window. But we just really want to make this, the audience, a part of this in as much a way as we can. Like we're doing conventions. We did a couple conventions last year. We did panels. We're going to be doing more of that this year. So we'll be popping up around the country and in various places, especially once it gets out on all the big streaming channels. Of course, now it's on Vimeo. So if anybody wants it, you can find us on Vimeo. But hopefully here in the next, who knows, month or two, it'll start popping up on the usual suspects out there too. So
nice.
As it's again, just the process it is. So we can't thank you guys enough for having us on. And it's just been a pleasure chatting, and the reviewers, the audiences that have come out to our screeners. I almost said screamers.
You're not wrong. Yeah, you're not wrong. She screams pretty awesomely in the movie. I do have to say, I was like, I would be terrified.
I didn't want to miss that. Mention that actor's name is Braille Babcock, and she plays our screaming girl. That I'm not.
Yeah, I was talking about when she turns around and she lets her boyfriend have it.
FYB.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got a little feature I need to send you.
FYB on it.
We're bringing out a shirt with FYB.
Oh, nice.
I've got a little mini.
Well, Ben just kept dicking around and pushing me to go in there, and you lose a friend, you might snap. So it snaps.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, now you're engaged. Now you're definitely check that stuff out. I'll be joining the group after. But Tony, what about yourself? Where can people go to find you and your ever-growing TikTok community?
You can find me at Tony Has 9 Fingers on YouTube, where I do movie reviews, unboxings, anything movie related. I do on there. Tony Has 9 Fingers on Twitter. Tony Has 9 Fingers on TikTok, which is my the quickest growing thing. So check me out there. Everything movie related. Tony's Movies on Instagram, where I show off the movies behind me, and of course here on the Wicked Horror Show every Tuesday night, whether we have awesome guests or it's just a horror movie chat. Definitely check us out. I encourage everybody to check out the lives. So not only could you check out the trailer for it, because if you're on audio, you just hear noises, but also you can come in and ask questions and join along with the with all of us. So yeah, Kevin.
Just A Knuckle on Instagram. Besides doing this show, I'm also part of Black and White Fright and Violence Buffet, which is on a little bit of a hiatus right now. I'm starting a new show in February it'll be coming out in February called The Re-Education of Nancy Ann Ritter. I don't know why that just slipped my mind. I've been dealing with it for too long, like with graphics and stuff. And Jeremy, that was in the chat. It's a podcast with Nancy Ann Ritter, who was in the original Scream back in '96. And she's not she's not versed in horror because it scares her. So we are teaching her about horror everywhere from like classics all the way up to more current stuff. Nice. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. And I'm also going to be part of That Strange Show, I guess, moving forward. So yeah, I'm going to be in a lot of places.
Very cool.
Someone say too many, and that would be me. So thanks for coming on, guys. Thanks for everyone in the chat room as well. Kept me busy reading comments, so that's great. And yeah, thanks for watching and listening, and we'll see you next time.
Sounds great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.